Yo, what is going on, everyone? My name is Nick, or the Notorious Fantasy, and in today's video, we're going to be doing a 12-team PPR mock draft from the 12th overall spot on FantasyPro's Draft Wizard. The roster positions for today's draft are 1 quarterback, 2 running backs, 2 wide receivers, a tight end, flex, kicker, defense, and 6 bench spots. But before we can get on into this draft, I would like to ask that if you guys are new to the channel and you do end up enjoying today's video, that you please make sure to hit that subscribe button down below. And while you're down there, whether you are new to the channel or not, please make sure that you do leave a like on today's video. It would help me out a ton. And if you want to follow me on Twitter, please do so at NotoriousFantasy. So without further ado, let's get into this 2023 fantasy football mock draft. So we've already done a couple of mock drafts on the channel. The last 2, we did one with an earlier pick, then a middle pick. This time we are going with the last pick in the first round. Right now, I don't necessarily have a favorite pick in fantasy football drafts or a favorite draft position, but in my opinion, over the last couple of years, I have been someone who really likes picking at the turn, meaning around picks 10, 11, or 12 in a 12-team league. So the draft began with Christian McCaffrey, followed by Justin Jefferson, Saquon Barkley, Jamar Chase, Cooper Kupp, Austin Eckler, Jonathan Taylor, Tyreek Hill, Bijan Robinson, Travis Kelce, and Ramondre Stevenson. It does appear that the draft wizard on FantasyPros has further adjusted towards the kind of new wave of fantasy football that we are seeing a lot this year, and that is wide receivers going a lot more in the first round. Now, we still do end up seeing 6 running backs go in the first round, but last time we did one of these, I think only 3 of the first 12 picks of the draft were not running backs, which I think is very inaccurate. I think a lot of people are going to look to draft wide receivers a lot more in the first round this year. Travis Kelce obviously cements himself as a first round pick. I think Ramondre Stevenson at the 1.11 is a little bit of a reach. So looking at the board right now, best running backs available according to FantasyPros: Josh Jacobs, Tony Pollard, 9-inch Nicholas Chubb, Derrick Henry, Breece Hall. I like all of those guys. I don't necessarily want to draft any of them in the first round. I would maybe consider Nick Chubb, but if I'm being honest with you, at this spot, I'd rather just double tap the wide receiver position and go with the best wide receivers available: Stephon Diggs, CeeDee Lamb, Davante Adams, Amon-Ra St. Brown, and A.J. Brown. Now, in my opinion, while these guys are all in tier number 2 on FantasyPros, my tier number 2 of wide receivers is just Stephon Diggs and Davante Adams. I talked about that in yesterday's video, my updated top 24 wide receiver rankings and tiers. Stephon Diggs is going to be my first pick here, obviously linked to one of the best offenses with one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL with Josh Allen. There is competition. They bring in Dalton Kincaid in the NFL draft, but ultimately Stephon Diggs is still the clear alpha wide receiver. Dalton Kincaid plays fucking tight end. He might have a nice rookie year, but at the end of the day, Stephon Diggs is one of the cream of the crop wide receivers in the NFL. I don't think he's necessarily in the same tier as guys like Tyreek, Cooper Kupp, Jamar Chase, or Justin Jefferson, but he's just a little bit below them. Stephon Diggs, obviously an excellent pick in the first round. We're back up again, and if you wanted to go Lamb, or you want to go St. Brown, or A.J. Brown, you know, I understand it, but to me, I still like Davante Adams. I understand that some people get worried about a guy like Davante Adams because of the situation. Obviously, the quarterback room in Las Vegas, with Jimmy Garoppolo being the number 1 quarterback on the team, the signal caller isn't the best, but at the end of the day, Davante Adams can perform regardless of who the quarterback is. This is one of the best wide receivers in the NFL. So the fact that Jimmy Garoppolo is his quarterback doesn't excite me, but he is just so good that I don't think it even matters. So Davante Adams is going to be my pick here. I think if you wanted to go running back, you definitely could go Josh Jacobs. But in my opinion, I just got 2 top 5 wide receivers for fantasy football this season in the first and second round, and that is incredibly exciting. So after we saw Davante Adams go off the board and Stephon Diggs, obviously we made those picks. Then we see Najee Harris, A.J. Brown, Breece Hall, CeeDee Lamb, Kenneth Walker III, 9-inch Nicholas Chubb, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Garrett Wilson, Tony Pollard, Josh Jacobs, Derrick Henry. The third round opens with Travis Etienne, Mark Andrews, Joe Mixon, Jalen Waddle, Jalen Hurts, T. Higgins, Chris Godwin, Pat Mahomes, Chris Olave, Josh Allen, and T.J. Hawkinson. Now, I think that Travis Kelce is very clearly tier 1 at tight end. He is just on a whole nother level compared to Mark Andrews, Hawkinson, whoever you believe to be that kind of next tier at tight end, right? Kittle, Goddard, Pitts, Waller, those guys, right? But at the end of the day, while I think that he is significantly better, which is true, I just don't know who the number 2 guy is. So I really like Andrews. I like Hawkinson, but I would rather just get kind of the last of that group. I would rather just hold out and get a guy like Kyle Pitts, who I don't even necessarily believe in too much, just a couple of rounds later, I think, at a bigger discount. The quarterbacks coming off the board early. We all know if you're in a home league with a bunch of people that aren't really go in depth into fantasy, don't really follow fantasy football like you because you're watching a video in May. Obviously, you like fantasy football a ton. Sometimes quarterbacks go in the first round. I think this year more than any, even in the more competitive leagues, the non-kind of casual leagues, I think quarterbacks are going to be going a lot earlier this year. Again, probably not in the first or the second round of your highly competitive league, but wouldn't shock me if by the end of the 5th round, if 6-7 quarterbacks already come off of the board. So we're back yet again here. There really weren't too many picks in between that I thought were terrible. I've already hounded on Kenneth Walker so much. I like the player. I just don't like the situation with Zach Charbonnet. People will try to talk to me about how good Kenneth Walker is. And hey, he's not going to get his role taken from Zach Charbonnet. But at the end of the day, if you're going to draft a running back in the 2nd round of the 2023 NFL draft, and you already drafted a running back in the 2nd round the prior year, that tells me that they're not necessarily content with the running back position, and they don't want to just have a workhorse back. They want more of a 55-45% split at the running back position. So looking at the board, running back still available: Aaron Jones, Dalvin Cook, Dameon Pierce, J.K. Dobbins, Jahmyr Gibbs, Miles Sanders. Looking at the quarterbacks, Joe Shiesty, Lamar Jackson, Justin Fields. Tight ends, we still have a bunch to pick from. In my opinion here, I think I'm definitely going to go with one running back out of these selections. Now, I have Dameon Pierce, I believe, ranked very similarly. I almost just had a fucking seizure trying to say that word, as Aaron Jones. I think you might think Aaron Jones is a little bit safer. He's got that pass catching upside because he's on the Packers. Jordan Love looked pretty good in OTAs thus far. Obviously, there's a big difference between the 7-on-7 OTAs and the real fucking NFL game. But I think a lot of people are kind of discrediting Jordan Love in a way. Dameon Pierce, obviously on the Texans, making a lot of draft picks. I think Dameon Pierce is the clear running back 1 there. Aaron Jones kind of has that competition from A.J. Dillon, Quadzilla behind him. So kind of pick your poison here. I'm going to lean Dameon Pierce, but just ever so slightly. If I had to do a draft 10 times, right, and I'm in this spot and it's Dameon Pierce versus Aaron Jones, I'm probably taking Aaron Jones half the time, Dameon Pierce the other half of the time. So the question is, right now, I like the quarterbacks, but I'd kind of rather just wait. So the question is Aaron Jones versus Devontae Smith or DK Metcalf. I like Jahmyr Gibbs a ton as well. I have him ranked inside of the top 12, but this is another situation where I think Jahmyr Gibbs' value week 1 isn't very high, but I think as the season goes along, we're going to be seeing a lot more of Jahmyr Gibbs, and I think he's going to end up being a league winner type of running back. But the question is Aaron Jones, Jahmyr Gibbs, or Devontae Smith, because Devontae Smith, in my opinion, levels above a guy like DK Metcalf. DK Metcalf is in this uber-crowded wide receiver room. I know Devontae Smith has to deal with the target competition of A.J. Brown, but 3 amazing wide receiver versus 2. I mean, it doesn't take a fucking mad scientist to figure that out. So here, I think we are going to end up going with the wide receiver. I think I can make up at running back, but because I think a lot of this draft is going to start hammering wide receivers now because of how many running backs have went early. And I think I am going to be able to find some solid running back value later in drafts. I love the value late at running back, and I think the wide receiver here, just Devontae Smith, is just so good. Obviously won the Heisman in college, had a great season last year with the Philadelphia Eagles, even with A.J. Brown being there. Obviously, Jalen Hurts isn't the best passer on earth, but he doesn't need to be with a team that's going to put up as many points as the Philadelphia Eagles. And Devontae Smith, obviously, an absolute weapon. And if A.J. Brown was to go down, knock on wood, we don't root for injuries, Devontae Smith would catapult himself into potentially being like a top 5 wide receiver every single week. He would be, obviously he's a must start even with A.J. Brown, but he would be like a mortal lock of the century to play in like DFS if A.J. Brown wasn't playing. So after Devontae Smith and Dameon Pierce, we see Ron Jones, DK Metcalf, Jameer Gibbie-Son, Deebo Samuel, Keenan Allen, DeAndre Hopkins, Amari Cooper, my guy Lamar Jackson, Michael Pittman Jr., Dalvin Cook, DJ Moore. Dalvin Cook is an absolutely disgusting draft pick right now. I have no idea if he's going to be on the Vikings come week number 1. And with that said, sure, he could land in a good landing spot, or maybe he gets thrown onto the Dolphins, which as a Dolphins fan, it would be sick, right? Oh, Dalvin Cook, Raheem Mostert, Jeff Wilson, and they drafted Devin 2 Chains, A-Chain, right? Amazing. But that's a crowded spot in the 4th fucking round. You're going to draft that guy? Not for me. The social media team already took Dalvin Cook out of the header of the Minnesota Vikings and put in Alexander Madison. So feels like Dalvin Cook's days are numbered in the 4th round. No way, Jose. The 5th round opens with Dallas Goedert, J.K. Dobbins, Mike Dubb, Mike Williams, Magic Mike himself, Miles Sanders, DeAndre Swift, Drizzy, Drake London, Javonte Williams, Cam Akers, Christian Watson, Isaiah Pacheco, and Tyler Lockett. Now, this is a draft pick where the way the league is set up heavily impacts my pick right here. If this was a league that was 3 wide receivers and a flex, it would be a no-brainer to me to select a wide receiver here. I like Terry McLaurin a lot. I know the quarterback situation in Washington is very up in the air, right? We don't even, like, it is Sam Howell, but how long is the chain on Sam Howell, right? How long is the leash? I don't know. That obviously isn't the best, but Terry McLaurin has dealt with legitimate god-awful quarterbacks his whole career, bottom of the barrel, and he's still been pretty decent. This running back group here is kind of gross. Rachaad White should be nowhere near the 5th round. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers might be one of the worst teams in the NFL in 2023. They're going to want to throw the ball a lot late in games. Rachaad White isn't necessarily this prototypical pass catcher. James Conner I like a lot too. I do like James Conner a lot, but not really in the 5th round. So I feel like we, in a way here, have kind of just pushed ourselves into having to draft a quarterback or drafting a running back that we don't necessarily want to draft in the 5th round. And I feel like I don't want to push myself to draft James Conner when I could easily just draft a myriad, I believe that's the correct word there, just draft a bunch of running backs to be my running back 2 and kind of cycle through them based upon their matchups. If you guys have ended up enjoying thus far, make sure you hit that subscribe button and that like button down below as well. Both of our wide receivers, our main 2 guys of Diggs and Adams, both have bye 13. Something important to note though, bye weeks don't really mean too much in my opinion, unless you're talking about quarterbacks or tight ends. So if you want to draft 2 quarterbacks, make sure they're both not bye 13. But if you're talking about wide receivers, who knows what's going to happen by week number 13, right? Stephon Diggs might have torn his ACL. Knock on wood, we don't root for injury, right? But I'm just saying, or Adams, they could be out for the season in the 1st week. And then if you're just basing everything upon the bye weeks, like your team is going to look so drastically different from week 1 after the draft all the way to week 13. Your team might even look different that you drafted versus the team that you have in week number 1 actually playing because you picked someone up off of the waiver wire. So I don't worry too much about buys except for quarterbacks and tight ends. So looking at the quarterbacks here, Joe Burrow, Justin Fields, a coin flip between the 2. Now, I know some people might be like, God, Justin Fields, this one-year wonder, doesn't necessarily have that crazy arm accuracy, but the rushing upside is just so insane. They drafted O-line. They bring in DJ Moore. Joe Burrow is probably the safer pick, right? We know what Joe Burrow is going to be. He's going to stand in the fucking pocket and deliver lasers all over the field to Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, Joe Mixon, who may still be there, Tyler Boyd, right? You kind of know what he is. But Justin Fields has that crazy upside, that week-winning fucking 2 rushing touchdown game, right, where he just takes a dookie on your opponent's chest. Joe Burrow isn't a bad pick by any means, but I'm going with my guy, Justin Fields, another bye week 13 number guy, so bye 13 might be a little bit tough, but again, injuries do happen. When I do draft a quarterback with as high of draft capital as I just did with Justin Fields, there is no way I'm going to be selecting another quarterback in this draft by week number 13, or if he gets injured, I'm just going to pick someone up off the waiver wire and cut one of my random bench pieces. 0% chance if I invest that much draft capital into Fields, do I want to just have to kind of draft Matthew Stafford or Russell Wilson or something. It just doesn't make sense. Looking at the tight ends, Kittle, Pitts. Kittle has been so inconsistent, but there has been so many peak games out of him. This is a guy that's destined to be great for fantasy football. There are a lot of cooks in the kitchen. We don't know the quarterback situation too well in San Fran. Kyle Shanahan was asked yesterday, is Brock Purdy going to be good to go? And he says, only God knows. And it's like, then what are they going to do? Trey Lance, Sam Darnold, Mono Man Sam. It's tough, but this guy's such a big part of the offense. I'm going to go with Kittle. I'm going to be honest with you. I get why people like Pitts, and I'll even probably end up drafting Pitts in a couple of drafts. But let's be honest with you. How many times is this guy going to metaphorically bend us over the fucking table and just raw dog us without even the common courtesy to use spit every single year before we figure things out? Now Arthur Smith's already banging the drums for the hype train, head coach of the Falcons. Well, Kyle Pitts is this, Kyle Pitts is that. Look, I like Kyle Pitts. I just rather would draft George Kittle, if I'm being honest with you. After we drafted George Kittle comes Joe Shiesty, Calvin Ridley, Kyle Pitts, Darren Waller, Evan Ingram, Pat Freiermuth. When the tight end run happens, do not be the asshole that selects Darren Waller, Evan Ingram, or Pat Freiermuth anywhere near Kyle Pitts. Now, in the 7th round opens, you want Evan Ingram, go right ahead. But let's be honest, or Darren Waller. But I'm going to be honest with you, I don't get kind of, if you fall into the situation where you fall into the run, it's like diarrhea for your team. It is terrible. Don't fall into the runs. Pat Freiermuth, David Montgomery, Rashad with 2 A's, Whites, Justin Herbert, the pervert, Terry McLaurin, Jerry Jeudy, Trevor Lawrence, Christian Kirk, Brandon Cooks, JSN, Mike Evans, James Conner, Deshaun Watson, Alexander Madison, Aaron Rodgers, who got hurt in practice yesterday. Nothing serious, it appears, but obviously you don't love to see someone get fucking hurt in May. Sucks. James Cook, and then Brandon Ayuk. I'm going to be honest with you. I don't understand why people continue to draft Jerry Jeudy so highly. Like, I get out of Alabama, out of college, he's this great receiver, but what has he done in the NFL? What has he done? I wish I could see his stats. Like, they're just not the best. So let's pull it up because I want to talk about it. I get, again, the skill is there. The upside is there. But what has he done? Right? Last year, wide receiver 26. Cool. But when we thought this guy was coming into the league, we thought he has top 12 upside. Cortland Sutton's still there. I don't know. I'm not really that high on Jerry Jeudy, if I'm being completely honest with you. So high drafted players. We want the tiers still up. So our team right now, Justin Fields, Damian Pierce, Stephon Diggs, Devontae Adams, George Kittle, and Devontae Smith. So eventually, we're going to have to start taking running backs. The running backs have gotten incredibly gross because people in the draft, the computers, just continue to spam the running back position. And again, you don't want to necessarily get cucked by the draft, right? You don't want to just reach for that running back because you don't have one. Or we could just take 2 because we like 2. So we'll kind of look at the board here. Kamara is a no-go for me right now. The man's definitely going to get suspended, in my opinion, and if he doesn't, I would be completely and utterly perplexed. Khalil Herbert, they draft they draft Sean Johnson, however the hell you pronounce his name. Let's pull him up here. He's got to be on here. Where's he at? Show more. Johnson. Did someone already draft him? No, he's down here. Rashawn Johnson. Sorry, I couldn't pronounce his name correctly. But yeah, they drafted him. They have Donta Foreman as well, right? Kind of a loaded running back room. I think Khalil Herbert's the best out of that group. We got Brian Robinson, who just kind of feel meh about him. Like, the Commanders' offense isn't going to be great. I think I'd rather just take A.J. Dillon. I think A.J. Dillon's pretty much a premier handcuff in fantasy football. Like, if something was to happen to Aaron Jones, A.J. Dillon would be vaulted very high due to his skill set. It does kind of suck that they're both on the same team. It obviously hurts Aaron Jones. It hurts A.J. Dillon. but ultimately, I think he is still a decent pick in the 7th round. Would I rather get him in like the 9th round? Of course, but I don't think he would even fall that far if I'm being honest with you. And again, he is our running back too, but he is a cycle at the running back position, right? Dameon Pierce is locked in as that running back 1. A.J. Dillon is kind of just going to be cycled in and out depending on the week. Like, for instance, if we draft Antonio Gibson and Antonio Gibson just by far and away is the better running back for the Commanders, and it looks great for him, and the matchup looks great, then boom, Gibson is in there, right? And then if Aaron Jones was to get hurt, knock on wood, then we throw A.J. Dillon in there. So that's kind of how I look at it. In a lot of these drafts, my running back 2 is going to be a revolving door based upon matchup and situation in drafts. Now, if I draft 2 running backs early, then I don't have to worry about that. And I don't have to worry about just cycling in a running back 2 every single week. I do think that's a really good strategy, though. Again, though, like, as you get deeper in the draft, the running backs start to really fall off, in my opinion. Really off the edge of the earth. So we're going to go with a wide receiver here, though, because, again, while they fall off the edge of the earth, like, I think Penny could be available for us. I think Samaje Perine, Zach Charbonnet, those kind of guys. So I'm just going to go wide receiver. I want to make sure I don't necessarily screw myself with the buys here, though, because I don't, like, while I kind of gave that whole speech about buys not mattering, look, if I draft 3 of my first 4 receivers by week 13, I don't think that's necessarily ideal. By 6 for Deontay Johnson, Hollywood Brown, Burks, Pickens, Sutton, Jahan Dotson, best available. Kadarius Toney, that guy. I just can't do it with Toney. Like, I'm going to draft him in some underdog drafts, right, for that crazy best ball upside, but I'm going to be honest, that Chiefs wide receiver court, Toney just can never stay healthy. It just feels disgusting to take him. I think out of this group, I do like Deontay Johnson the best. I know he had a down year last year. He scored 0 touchdowns, though. You just have to think that number goes back to 6 at least, right? The Steelers aren't necessarily the best team in the NFL, obviously. I think they're going to finish pretty average. Like, if there were still 16 games, like an 8-8 team, 9-8 kind of a team, right? But nothing special. I don't think Kenny Pickett's really the answer there, but I think Deontay Johnson will be just fine. Like, I think people really overrate what George Pickens is. He's this big play guy, going to make these crazy catches, but Deontay Johnson is going to be the guy that is just getting the ball force-fed to him every single fucking game. Every single game, he just gets force-fed with targets. After Deontay Johnson, we see Juju Smith-Schuster, Alvin Kamara, George Pickens, Samaje Perine, Hollywood Brown, Treylon Burks, Kadarius Toney, Jordan Addison. I want a bad bitch. Jordan Addison Ray, Cortland Sutton, Khalil Herbert, Jahan Dotson, Jacoby Myers, Darnell, here comes the Mooney, Rashad Master Bateman, Gabe Davis, Quentin Johnston, Dak Prescott, the gambling man himself, Jameson Williams, Zach Charbonnet, Sky with 2 Ys more, Brian Robinson, and Alan Lazard. I talked about this, I think, in the last mock draft. It's funny because I have so many nicknames for the players that go late in drafts, but none of these guys early on really have great nicknames. Like, I love calling Nick Chubb 9-inch Nicholas Chubb, but we don't really have too many nicknames for these early guys. So we gotta get in the fucking lab and start thinking about, like, my name's Dexter, and start thinking about some more nicknames for these early round guys. But it's got to come to me, right? It feels like it's kind of hard to just think of them off of just, like, kind of sitting there, right? I just randomly say them, and they just catch on. People like them. Gets the people going, as they say. So I like Antonio Gibson. I'm going Gibson. I think Brian Robinson is going to play a big factor, but this guy's the pass-catching back on the team. Sam Howell going to dump the ball off a decent amount, you would think. I think that people are really sleeping on Gibson. Now, again, do I think Gibson's going to finish in, like, the top 12 if Brian Robinson's healthy all season? No. But I think that Gibson, while last year it was just so bad for him, all the news was like, this motherfucker is going to be on the practice squad. Not actually, but it's like, if what happened to Brian Robinson didn't happen, it seemed like Antonio Gibson was going to get shipped off to Middle Earth or something. That's what it really felt last year. I like Jamal Williams a decent amount, but we're going to go Rashad Penny, another upside piece, one of the best offenses in the NFL. Obviously, Swift is the guy, quote-unquote, but Penny still has enough juice to where I want to draft him on teams. I think in the right matchup, he could be easily slot in ahead of A.J. Dillon, and I think he could even take... It's not like they have all this invested in Swift either, which is something I've kind of started to think a little bit more about. After Rashad Penny, Damian Harris, Zay Flowers, Tyler Algier, Jamal with 2 A's, Williams, Ezekiel Elliott, Devin Singletary, Michael Thomas, Elijah Moore, DPJ, Donovan Peoples-Jones, Danny Dimes, Jeff Wilson Jr., Rondale Moore, Tua Tagovailoa, my guy, Adam Thielen, Odell Beckham Jr., Tyler, yeah, Boyd, Kirk Cousins, Kirk O'Chains, Zay Jones, Nico Collins, Rashid, Shaheed, my boy Devin 2 Chains, and then KJ Osborne. Again, the best part about our draft strategy is we don't have to draft another quarterback or another tight end. So we got a lot of room to just smash the fucking running back button and hope that one of these guys works. And then with defense and kicker, you just wait till the last 2 picks. If you want to get a little spicy and it's like, oh, I really like this kicker, and you draft him in the 13th round, go right ahead. Or maybe by the end of the offseason, as we get closer to draft season, I will have a complete list of defenses that I want to be drafting based upon their week 1 matchup. And then after week 1, a lot of times you just cut them and then go with someone new for week number 2. And I make videos about that all year long. So make sure you're subscribed to the channel. Not only do I talk about the fantasy draft and all the hype of the offseason, I'm also there every single day grinding, making videos during the regular season. So you have something fun to listen to and something informational that should help you win your league. Obviously, a lot of people who watched my videos last year won their league. So huge round of applause for them. I won one of my fantasy leagues. Some of them not the best, but you know, it is what it is, right? Especially when I play against my friends who all are able to watch the videos that I make and then kind of snipe me on the players that I love. You should not have to really worry about that. It's not like I am the biggest YouTube channel ever. So if I really love a player, it's not really going to change anything. Hopefully one day, though, I can say something cool about a guy. Like I could just go talk heavily about like Donta Foreman or something, who I don't even actually like, and he just skyrockets up the draft board. So again, we're probably just going to spam the running back position, if I'm being completely honest with you. At least one more here. We already have 4. Definitely need 5 on a team like this, maybe even 6. Looking at the board, Elijah Mitchell, Raheem Mostert, Jerick McKinnon, Kenneth Gainwell, Donta Foreman, Jalen Warren. I think if the Dolphins do not bring in Dalvin Cook, which has been heavily rumored, Raheem Mostert has a lot of upside, especially early on in the season. It might take Devin 2 Chains some time to take over. Raheem Mostert looked really fast, had a bunch of solid games last year. The Dolphins definitely want to run the ball to make sure that Tua doesn't get absolutely annihilated behind our offensive line. I say ours if I'm on the Dolphins, but I am at this point. I've suffered so many years as a Dolphins fan. I turned 24 in a couple of days on Friday. So happy early birthday to me. But yeah, I've suffered my whole fucking life as a Dolphins fan. So hopefully when I say our, it doesn't piss anyone off. But you guys play fantasy football. I don't think anyone's going to get mad at that. It's between McKinnon and Mostert. McKinnon really took off last year. It seems like every fucking year this guy has some games where you want to play him, but he's never consistent. Man, oh man, I kind of want to draft him, though, over Mostert, but I love Pacheco so much. I'm going to do it anyways, though. We could probably also just draft Mostert, if I'm being honest with you. We have 4 receivers that I'm really confident in, and then we'll just throw a super dart throw at the end. This isn't necessarily the build that I love to have, but I think it's still a fine build for a team, so we're going to go with Mostert here. Again, just capturing all of that upside. Week 10 might not be the best, but hey, it's not like all these guys are going to be on our team anyways by that time. As I talk about CH, he just gets drafted, which is pretty funny. I didn't talk about CH, but man, oh man, what a fall from grace, right? CH getting drafted up here, and now he gets drafted down here and probably won't even get drafted in a lot of leagues. So after we go with Jerick McKinnon and Raheem Mostert, we see Geno Smith, Elijah Mitchell, Cole Kmet, David Njoku, my guy Dalton Schultz, Wan'Dale Robinson, Chig Okonkwo, Tyler Higbee, Greg Dulcich, Kenny Gainwell, Anthony Richardson, AR-15, Donta Foreman, DJ Moore, DJ Chark, baby Chark, Michael Carter, Kendre Miller, one of my favorite late round picks, Jalen Warren, Leonard Fournette, Uncle Lenny, Kareem Hunt, Rashawn Johnson, CH, Rashee Rice, and then Cordell Patterson. So we're going to take our pick here at wide receiver, and we are just shooting for upside, right? Sure, you can take Hunter Renfrow and get like 8 points a game, right? You could take, I guess he's really like kind of the only super like safety net, like wrap a condom around your roster answer, right? We're just going to go with the highest upside possible. I don't give a shit if this pick completely misses. I want the upside. So a guy that has a lot of upside, in my opinion, would be someone like Hodgins, who could be the wide receiver 1 on the Giants. Mechie could be the number 1 receiver on the Texans. We got Hyatt, number 1 receiver potentially on the Giants. Tyquan Thornton, potentially the number 2 on the Patriots. There's a lot of options. Tim Patrick is a late round kind of guy that I like a decent amount. I like Marvin Jones, especially for early on in the season. Jonathan Mingo could be the number 1 option in Carolina. Again, we're just hunting for the upside, so we're going to go rookie hunting here with Jonathan Mingo of the Carolina Panthers. And now we need a defense or a kicker. We're just going to go best kicker available and get Justin Tucker the fucker. You can go with Carlson or Bass, whoever you like as the kicker number 1. And then again, we're going to be looking for defense with our last pick. I'm going to kind of show you through the thought process. You just want to draft a defense playing a not so hot team in week number 1. Obviously, things are going to change from now all the way until week number 1 in my perception on defenses and on the teams they are playing. The Saints, let's check their schedule real quick right here. Games. Week 1 is against Tennessee. The Titans, the Saints have a pretty good defense. The Titans offense is pretty mid outside of Derrick Henry. So the Saints, the perfect option for that. We get a B, but I kind of try to make this known. I respect fantasy pros, but I don't really give a shit, a singular fuck what they have to say about my team. They could give me a D, they could give me an A+, and I would be very happy. So 83 out of 100, I think the team's better than that. Our team is Justin Fields, Dameon Pierce, A.J. Dillon, Stephon Diggs, Devontae Adams, George Kittle, Devontae Smith, the Saints, and Justin Tucker. Our bench is Deontay Johnson, Antonio Gibson, Rashad Penny, Jerick McKinnon, Raheem Mostert, and Jonathan Mingo. So let me know down below in the comment section what you guys think about the team. You like it? Do you hate it? What are some picks that you might have done differently? I love you guys all so much. Hope you have a great guys' day. And as always, good boy.